Live streaming is on.
Welcome to episode number 230 of the... No, it's 220. I'm jumping ahead 10 episodes. It's 220 of the Beyond Social Media Show. Oh my God, I'm dropping 100. Let's start this over. Ready?
Yeah,
Are
ready.
you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Welcome to episode number 320 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. You can find us by searching for Beyond Social Media Show. We're recording live on YouTube on August 21, 2020. I got those numbers correct. This week, we talk about a lot of things. We always do. Amongst them, the bravest speech, Taco Bell reconfigured, Sarah Cooper scores, suggested grams, advertising so white, an epic trap, Susan B says no thanks, Spotify books, blocked by Trump, Facebook's Holocaust deniers, toxic finds a home, labor stress statistics at the very end, so you want to stick around for that, but BL kicks it off with the best story of the week. As usual, BL, what do you got?
Well, I would have to say that the best story of the week was Brayden Harrington's great speech last night at the Democratic Convention. That was the 13-year-old boy who spoke about his meeting with Joe Biden, and he explained that Joe Biden made him feel better about and more confident about his stuttering, and which was really severe. And Biden shared with him that he too had stuttered as a young man. Besides the fact that this was an extraordinary speech, it was a really smart marketing tactic for the campaign because it took Biden's stuttering out front. It said he talked about it was a lifelong problem. He overcame it. And now you can't make fun of him because this kid was so extraordinary. So to give you an idea of how hard this was, and I know this because a relative of mine had a stuttering issue, you hear him breathing, and part of the reason is that he's trying. It's so hard to speak without stuttering, and it's a breath control thing. And so you hear him inhaling because he's trying to get the words out. So he described himself as just a regular kid, and he was anything but just a regular kid. And he said that meeting Biden made him feel better, and that he knows that we all need to feel better, and pass the tissues, that it was a direct hit to the heart. And the bravery of this kid to stand up in front of the whole world and let that be out there. And several times he stuttered. And what I thought was kind of funny today, though, was that when Postmaster Joy was testifying this morning, he stuttered. But anyway, Brayden's my new hero. I needed a hero. We all need a hero. He's it.
So Steve Schmidt, the former Republican consultant turned Trump critic turned incisive political mind, called that kid's speech an example of what we have as a deficit in the United States. Courage. It was courageous for that little boy to go up there in front of the world and give that speech. But it was also
braces. It was so adorable.
And it was adorable and it was touching and everything and that. But also that was very tactical by the DNC to do it that way shortly before Biden was to give his speech. Because as those of us who know that he has this issue or had this issue are kind of always holding our breath in public moments, like during debates or when he's going to give
he had a
moment.
Life. He had a moment when he kind of stopped.
But it kind of set everybody else up for that.
Yeah.
Those people who didn't know that he had a stuttering problem as a kid.
No,
it set you up to be sympathetic for him when he gave that speech. So
it was brilliant. What a strategic move that was. Just wonderful.
Yeah. So, this one's has nothing to do with that, and so no transition needed. This is a CNBC article by Amelia Lucas about Taco Bell. So restaurants are adjusting to I got a gnat in my face. Restaurants are adjusting to the new pandemic crap, and they're thinking long term now. Taco Bell has reported its second quarter earnings, and it served an additional 4.8 million cars through their drive-through lanes compared to a year earlier, even as their same-store sales have declined 8%. So you can see, obviously, the behavior is shifting, and they understand that. So they are redesigning their restaurants in light of our plague-filled future. They clearly think it's going to last, and so they're redesigning the restaurants. The new format includes 2 drive-through lanes. One is devoted to mobile orders. It includes pickup shelves, so you can order online, which I do all the time, and then go to the store and pick it up and just walk into the store, grab your order off the shelf, and go. And then curbside pickup, which is out to you. So they've got parking spots devoted for curbside pickup. The format's intended to push their customers to order food ahead on the mobile app in order to keep the drive-through lines short. There are going to be 2 company-owned, so there are franchises of Taco Bell's, obviously, 2 company-owned locations that will use the new design. They're expected to open in the first 3 months of next year. Its kitchens will include technology that tells workers the fastest way to make the order, communicates to customers the easiest way to pick up food, and they're gamifying it. So customers who choose the suggested method for picking up foods will get more points for their Taco Bell loyalty program. I obviously will not be able to take advantage of that because I will never eat at Taco Bell. But
I was waiting for that. Like, food is horrible.
It is, but it is an indication of what the restaurant industry is dealing with and understanding. You know, they do the research, they make their decisions based on sound data. They anticipate that this is not going away anytime soon, so they're reconfiguring their businesses to accommodate the new abnormal.
Well, equally so, I live in New York City and we don't have cars. And so there are pickup windows at restaurants, but there are tables in the street. They're under like awning type things. But who's going to do that in December and January and February? And so when it's 95 degrees out, who wants to sit outside? And the buses are going by and the garbage trucks are going by and people have already been hit by cars while they were sitting and eating in the street. So, you know, I don't see how restaurants can survive in New York City in the long run. And so many are gone already. And, you know, you want to support them. But on the other hand, I'm not sitting on 2nd Avenue, you know, right next to the bus lane and having my dinner. So yeah. It's a really hard problem.
Yeah. And in past episodes, I've talked about that. I think the restaurant industry is going to the suburbs because there's just more room. You can't have the social distancing that's required now in restaurants.
Well, it started with the tables apart, but they're getting closer. Yeah. You know, like people are sneaking them a little closer every day. So,
well, that's the other thing you can't control. That's what I don't trust is the customers.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. So, Sarah Cooper had one hell of a great week this week, and you know, we talked about her a few episodes ago, and where you called her a national treasure, and I have to agree, she certainly is. And you know, she's a perfect example of the 10-year overnight success. Because she had a video in which she was saying that now the agents who wouldn't talk to her 10 years ago are calling her. But what happened besides that, and in case anybody doesn't know, she's the one who lip syncs Trump on Twitter and TikTok. And my opinion is he wants to get rid of TikTok because of her. But she this week announced that she'd landed a Netflix special. And then just today, CBS announced that she's going to have a series on CBS, and it's called How I Turned an Everyday Observation. Oh no, that's her TED Talk. How I Turned an Everyday Observation into a Whole New Career. And her show is called How to Be Successful Without Hurting Men's Feelings. And it's a single camera comedy that's inspired by a book she apparently wrote of the same topic. And before she co-hosted Jimmy Kimmel's show last week, which unfortunately I was not awake for, she she did
These things called DVRs, BL.
We don't have one. We don't have one. But but she said, you know, a lot of people don't know that I have a voice, and so she told a little bit about herself and her husband and all of that. And that's when she was saying that now these people are calling her who would never take her calls, which was really funny. So the How to Be Successful Without Hurting Men's Feelings revolves around 3 women at different stages in their careers in male-dominated companies, and they help each other navigate gender politics and in their careers and their personal lives. So here we have it, another 10-year overnight success. But oh boy, does she deserve it. She's great. And she on the convention last night, she was fabulous.
So I mean, she has said in interviews where she's envious of Donald Trump because, and this is her book, what was the title of it?
Where to go?
How to get ahead without hurting men's feelings, or something like that.
How to be successful without hurting men's feelings.
Right. Yeah. So she's envious of people like Donald Trump who can know absolutely zero about anything and bullshit their way through life, which is exactly what Trump has done. But it's common in computers, in corporations and stuff, and so she's clearly been in those situations where it'd be nice. I've sat in the room with people who use buzzwords, and it's clear they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but they're just breezing through as if with confidence galore. And
you haven't been a woman sitting in that room where you say something, and then a man repeats what you said, taking it as his own idea, and everybody tells him what a great idea he had.
Yep. No, I haven't. I have not. That has not happened to me.
I got experience with that. I got a master's degree in that. So
don't cheat. It's my turn.
I'll go right ahead, Dave. Mansplain it to me.
I'm just saying, we rotate on these. It's
Go ahead.
All right. So this is from a Verge article by Ashley Carmen, a fabulous woman writer. A fabulous writer, period. I'm sorry. Anyway, Instagram is rolling out a new feature called suggested posts. They should call it suggested grams, but they didn't take my advice. So it's expanding its feed today, actually, with these suggested posts. They come from accounts that you do not follow after you've reached the end of your feed. So you're just scrolling through and you get to the end of the feed, then now you'll start seeing these suggested posts. The feed had been entirely determined by users' preference and the people they follow, but now instead of telling users that they've seen it all at the end of their post, they will get these Instagram suggestions, which will be related to content that people already follow. It will include ads. It won't include IGTV videos or Reels content for now. But my big question was, I don't think I've ever gotten to the end of my feed.
Right. That's true. Yeah, well, maybe some people do. I mean, I love the ads on. I think
you have to only follow a few people to be able to get to the end of your feed.
Yeah, maybe. But I understand why they're doing that. But I'd agree. I probably won't ever see it either. So I have this in good news because it indicates that somebody at Facebook can't stand it anymore and is leaving. So today, Facebook CMO Anthony Lucido announced that he's leaving Facebook. And he said that he has the desire to dedicate 100% of his time to diversity and inclusion efforts in the marketing and advertising industries, which apparently can't happen at Facebook. So this is from an Ad Age article by Garrett Sloan. And it indicates that Facebook's toxic environment is not one that stimulates diversity. And Lucido had the good conscience, which a lot of people don't seem to have, to walk away from it. So perhaps this is going to force Facebook to replace him with a black CMO, is what a lot of people are saying. And at the very least, they need somebody with some civil rights experience to fill this slot. But groups behind the ad boycott, have made the demand that Facebook hire a black executive with strong civil rights experience. Facebook declined to comment, on whether or not its new CMO would fit that criteria. But Facebook's trying to dig itself out of this huge public downward spiral that it's been in. And, it's often framed as a dangerous company by its critics, and who are worried about the effects that the Facebook has on social discourse. And so that's why they were boycotted by so many brands. And the movement Stop Hate for Profit paints Facebook as a uniquely toxic platform that enables hate speech. And, one of the reasons for that is that they've set Mark Zuckerberg. It all comes down to Mark Zuckerberg. But Mark Zuckerberg says that political advertising is just free speech. But it seems like he might have to rethink that, which we'll talk about later.
Well, by definition, it's not free speech. You're paying for it. It's paid advertising. It's not free speech, period. So you can selectively determine whether you want that speech on your platform or not,
Good
as
point.
media forever has done. So yeah. So this is another story of a big company that probably has too much power. This is from the Verge's Russell Brandom, who reports on Fortnite. So Fortnite, the game that we've talked about in past episodes, a supremely popular game. It's more than a game. It's really a social network. Kids hang out together on Fortnite while playing. So massively popular. They implemented their own in-app payment system for the Apple App Store, which bypass Apple's payment systems. So Apple has a built-in payment system that's included in their software development kit, and Fortnite built their own. And as a result, they got kicked off of the App Store. That violated the rules of the App Store, so they got kicked out. When Apple kicked Fortnite out, Fortnite immediately filed a 65-page lawsuit. Epic is the company. Epic is the gaming company that owns Fortnite, so they actually filed the lawsuit. Epic did the same thing to Google for the Google Play Store. These two companies essentially control the market on how mobile software is distributed. Apple gets a 30% commission on any paid downloads.
Wow.
For apps. So if you buy an app, right, 30% of that purchase for the app itself. If you make any in-app purchases, 30% of those purchases. If you're doing a subscription model, it's 30% every month, right? So they're taking a 30% cut. Now, back in the day, there was a 50% commission that would be charged, but that was back when you went and got a physical game from a store. You went to a store and bought a physical game, and there's a whole host of things that need to be paid for. You need to create the disc that the content was contained on, the packaging, the distribution, all of the retail stuff. There's a ton of expenses. Apple just has a store, right? They're not doing anything really to earn that 30% commission. So that's what a lot of people are complaining about, Apple's monopoly on the distribution of mobile content. They're really, 30% is a hell of a lot given what they're not doing. Apple made $15 billion in revenue just from the App Store last year. Only from the App Store, not anything else, not their hardware, not anything else. So Epic is accusing Apple of violating the Sherman Act, which is they're alleging that they have a total monopoly on the iOS app distribution market, which, hard to argue that they don't. But Apple, remember B.L., Apple's 1984 commercial?
Yes.
Their iconic 1984 commercial with a woman in the running attire throwing a sledgehammer into the massive screen of the omniscient authoritarian, riffing off George Orwell. So Epic, along with the lawsuit, they accompanied a brilliant cause marketing video that parodies the Apple 1984 commercial. There's a menacing Apple head with a chunk bitten out of its side on the screen. The power is ours and ours alone. And this scared audience watching. And then in walks the Fortnite character, comes into the hall wearing a rainbow shirt and carrying a unicorn axe which she tosses at the Apple head and shatters the screen. So it's a complete parody of the Apple 1984 commercial. It closes with hashtag free Fortnite. And that video has accumulated since August 13, 5.5 million views. That's 4,056 views per hour, 255,000 likes, 61,800 comments, and 10,000 social shares. So they're getting some headway on this. But there's a lot of other tech companies that are rooting for Fortnite, Spotify among them, because Apple has that monopoly basically.
Well, I mean, on the other hand, a lot of app developers became very wealthy because they were able to be on the Apple platform. So there really is another side to this. And I don't know exactly. I guess what they're saying is that they don't want Apple to take the money directly, but Apple has every right to take a percentage.
So you're pro monopoly? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm pro Apple. I think that what they've done is they've given a lot of small companies the opportunity to reach a huge audience.
That is what Apple would say. But I don't think there's any argument. Yeah, I don't know how you get around the fact that they are a monopoly. They are. If you want to get on iPhones, you have to go through Apple and you have to accept their 30%.
What's wrong with that?
Monopolies are wrong. It is the Sherman Act. That's what's wrong with it.
So go somewhere else.
You can't if it's a monopoly. That's the whole point.
Okay, well, we could argue about this for a while, but I think there's more than one side to this story.
Well, there is. You just told it, so.
Yeah, okay. So this is kind of fun. Anything that makes fun of Trump is kind of fun. The other day, on the 100th anniversary of women getting the right to vote, Trump said he was going to pardon Susan B. Anthony because she'd been arrested. So this is from an NPR story by Nita Ulaby, and who has a wonderful Twitter handle, Ula Beast. But anyway, so the Susan B. Anthony Museum rejected Trump's pardon of Susan B. Anthony because she was proud of being arrested and the role that she played being a suffragette, and she wouldn't have wanted to be pardoned, according to all the historians who looked at it. So they sent a letter. Objection, Mr. President. Susan B. Anthony must decline your offer of a pardon, said Deborah Hughes, the executive director of the museum. Hughes pointed to Anthony's support of sex education, fair labor practices, excellent public education, equal pay for equal work, and elimination of all forms of discrimination. And she suggested that if Trump wanted to honor Susan B. Anthony, that he should take a clear stance against voter suppression and advocate for human rights for all. I think that was beautiful.
Yeah, the thing with Trump is you scratch him and you get the other side. It's like he doesn't understand at all
anything.
That getting arrested for that cause is a badge of honor.
Exactly.
I wear proudly. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was also, another smokescreen for whatever, heinous thing he'd done the day before. And he does these things to get media attention away from whatever the real issues are. So
that's the other thing is whenever the media reports on these things, what they close with is, but he's doing this just to get attention. And then, well, you just gave it to him.
Right, exactly. So I have no more good news.
I got one short one. This is just like a heads up coming down the road kind of thing. This is from Tube Filter's Jeff Weiss, who points out that that Spotify has put out a job listing this past week, looking for a head of audiobooks to oversee their spoken word content business. So they host audio books right now, but it's basically public domain audiobooks. So it looks like they are in the process of building a team to compete with Audible, which would be fantastic because another company that has a monopoly on distribution, right? Yeah. So we need competition there. All right, let's get on the worst, B.L.
Okay, so again, this is Trump again. Trump asked the Supreme Court to let him block critics on Twitter. Now, This is from a story in The Hill by John Krusel, and the Trump administration said yesterday that they wanted to reverse a lower court ruling that he was violating the First Amendment by blocking his critics on Twitter, and that would reverse the ruling that his Twitter account is a public forum, which, as Casey Newton noted, it obviously is. So the Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia University that filed the lawsuit on behalf of 7 blocked Twitter users wanted the justices to deny Trump's appeal. I keep trying to get blocked by him. I think that's a badge of honor. Block.
Try harder.
Oh, believe me, I'm trying. No, go ahead.
So this is from the Next Web's Thomas Macaulay, who reports on a group called the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, who has done some research and discovered that at least 36 Facebook groups with 366,000 plus followers between them were hosting material on Holocaust denial. This is according to The Guardian. Actually did the original reporting, I should note. So the article says when a user followed one of these groups, they recommended others denying the genocide. And I'm like, that's just how the recommendation engine works, right? You join a group based on a topic and it recommends other things related to that topic. The difference is obviously the topic, but we've kind of had this discussion, BNL, over the course of many different episodes about this particular topic, and I'm like, who's a single person who's an ignorant person that's sharing these lies, and he doesn't have a huge following, then okay, let them be an idiot. But there's a major difference between that and a celebrity or a micro celebrity even who has a huge following, a media outlet or a quasi media outlet that has a huge following. They're sharing that kind of stuff. And then in this instance, the creation of a group intended to attract like-minded people with the intent of harnessing. I mean, the reason you create a Facebook group is to harness Facebook's algorithm, which depends on people interacting with one another and sharing the same content and everything in order to harness that algorithm and spread that content organically. Facebook could close down all of those avenues except the original, the first one that I mentioned, the kind of idiot that doesn't have a huge following, and probably take care of this problem. It would hinder them from taking advantage of Facebook's algorithm, which is clearly what they're trying to do. So,
well, 2 episodes ago, I talked about a campaign by Holocaust survivors in which they were trying to get Facebook to take down these pages, and Facebook so far has refused to meet with them. And what they were doing was they were every day having another Holocaust survivor tell their story. And the one that stuck with me was the woman who said, if the Holocaust didn't happen, where'd the 6 million people go? Who died? Where are they? You know, I mean, it's egregious that Facebook has not gotten rid of them. So here we have Reddit tried to get rid of hate speech on their site. This is from a Media Matters story by Alex Kaplan, and Reddit said that it saw a 20% drop in hate speech after they banned 7,000 subreddits back in June. The banned subreddits included those dedicated to QAnon, conspiracy theories, and linked to the founder of the Proud Boys. But moderators of the now banned subreddit r/the Donald have helped other subreddits that have toxic content to find new homes. They're using a backup forum that they created to circumvent Reddit restrictions. So Reddit banned some of these subreddits, but r/the Donald have had ample time to prepare for that. They knew it was coming. So now the Donald.win is the new URL that they're using, and they're extending their efforts beyond providing space for just users of the Donald group. And particularly since Reddit announced that they were banning all these groups, the moderators have helped launch new forums forums for multiple subreddits under the .win infrastructure, and so far they've had clear ties to the subreddits for every kind of hate group you can imagine. And this is the sort of problem. I mean, haters are like cockroaches. You can't kill them, they're going to come up somewhere else, and I think every platform faces this issue.
Yeah, I agree. I do think every platform faces this issue, and it's not going away. And I don't think, honestly, trying to do whack-a-mole and shut down, individual instances of it is going to work. I just don't think it's
7,000's a lot of instances.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think we need to think outside the box and have a different methodology for addressing the issue. It's a serious issue. It needs to be dealt with. These attitudes, these ideologies, these beliefs have always existed. The internet has given them a chance to be amplified beyond what anybody could have imagined. So that there is the problem. But we've had plenty of experience. I don't know the solution is what we're doing right now. And I don't know what the answer is.
Well, I don't either. But, this to me is like the drug issue. Oh, we're going to stop drugs from coming in from Mexico. Hey, wait a minute. They're coming in from, Washington. I mean, it's an issue that's not going to go away. So somebody's got to figure out some algorithm that's going.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the drug issue, because, I mean, I've never believed that shutting down the borders is going to stop drugs because people want drugs.
Right, exactly.
Right, because people want to do drugs,
and people want to hate.
Well, I mean, that I think there's the nub of the issue, is addressing the original source of the problem. So it's addiction. It's the desire to have a substance that changes your perception or changes your reality or whatever, versus the beliefs. So dealing with the beliefs at the core end, rather than trying to shut down the beliefs after they formed, is the problem. Am I making sense?
That is, first of all, with drugs, there are recreational drugs and there are other drugs. Mm-hmm. So, the government spent a whole lot of time trying to shut down recreational drugs, which is never going to happen. Yeah. But you're making sense, except that what you're talking about is way beyond the scope of any social platform. You're talking about, maybe electing Biden and Harris.
I'm always talking about that, but yeah, that's, I think, getting back to my original thing, it is beyond the scope of any social platform, which is the problem. We need to figure out a different way of dealing with it. Anyway, all right.
Time for smiles.
Time for smiles. Yes, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, you got two of them, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
All right, you go. I'll go after that.
Okay. There's a Dr. Fauci bobblehead, and
yes,
it's him wearing a mask, of course, and it's him throwing out the Nationals' first pitch, which he was so.
Oh no! They should not have done the bobblehead for that.
It comes.
It's kind of appropriate though, because if you're trying to throw out the first pitch and your head is bobbling around,
you probably won't do it, right? Yep. And he's adorable. But you get it at a site called Foco.com, and I'll put a link in there. And just a shout out to Dr. Fauci. He apparently had surgery for removing a benign polyp from his vocal cord, which would explain some of why he was so raspy. So now I think, from a friend of mine who had similar thing done, he can't talk for a few weeks, like at all, which probably makes Trump really happy. He probably encouraged him, like, why don't you go have the surgery, Anthony?
So you can actually order the bobbleheads.
Yes, and I think I need one, but they're $40.
Well, I ordered a Lincoln Project baseball cap.
Good one.
Which I intend to wear in our local Home Depot, because I think that's like a Trump hangout to see how people react. But I ordered it a while ago and I haven't received it yet, and I'm kind of thinking maybe I never will because of the mail delivery. They're probably targeting Lincoln Project stuff for being set off in the pile that doesn't get delivered. So anyway,
thought. Yeah. Give us yours.
This is fabulous. So Bill Murray I was going to say Eddie Murray. Bill Murray is kind of an iconic American in many ways, right? He's been with us for a long time.
Ghostbusters.
And yeah, he's just like in a lot of cultural moments. Saturday Night Live, Ghostbusters, Groundhog's Day. Yeah. So seems entirely appropriate that he be put in different iconic situations. So this is from a Metropolitan Museum post by Sarah Barnes. There is a Redditor named Eddie Taragohas, I think is how you pronounce it, who has created a series of images that reimagines famous artworks with Bill Murray in the artwork, Bill Murray's face in the artwork. So there's Gilbert Stuart's famous portrait of George Washington with Bill Murray's face. And you can actually picture it right now, can't you? There's Grant Wood's American Gothic, which is fabulous. There's a Van Gogh self-portrait. There's a Rembrandt self-portrait. There's the Uncle Sam I Want You poster. And I was waiting for it as I was scrolling through the page. I'm like, oh, man, they got to have this one. And, of course, they did. Whistler's mother. So we will include that in the show notes at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/320. I got it right this time.
Right.
Where you can see these. They're fabulous.
That is reminiscent of the Woody Allen film Zelig.
Ah, right.
Where Zelig put himself in all these historic situations. It was
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, really, very funny. So this one's just I love NASA so much and everything about space. So this was from Rob Garner at NASA, and the Hubble Space Telescope picked up a supernova host galaxy that is called Galaxy NGC 2442, nicknamed the Meathook Galaxy, because it looks like a big piece of meat in the sky. It's very asymmetrical and meaty looking.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. All right.
You got more?
No.
We got politics.
Do we have politics or shiny new stuff next?
Up to you.
Shiny new stuff.
Okay. I don't have any shiny new stuff.
Okay. Right. So I've got this is called CrowdTangle Link Checker. This is from a Next Web article by Yaron Yitzhak. CrowdTangle is a Facebook-owned social media monitoring tool, and the CrowdTangle team has released a Google Chrome extension called CrowdTangle Link Checker. So you install it. You need to log into your Facebook account in order to get access to the data. But then you can get quick access to some sharing data, social sharing data, for any URL you are visiting at the time. So it gives you data for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You need to log in on Twitter to get that, and Reddit. I primarily use BuzzSumo for social sharing research, but this is a great quick way of getting a little bit of insight while you're browsing, maybe for other purposes. So if I want to quick check, this looks like I wonder how many people shared this, and click on the extension, find out some quick data on that. It's pretty.
That's interesting.
Useful, yeah.
Well, actually, I do have a new shiny object. You know, we talked about being the revolutionary change in online meetings, and I've been playing with it. And hopefully next week we'll do our show with it. But oh my God, it's so much fun, and it's in beta, and you can apply for an invitation now. And it only works with the latest version of Zoom, and in that case, Zoom accepts it as one of the cameras, and you can do all sorts of wonderful things that we talked about in, I think, episode 314. But anyway, next week we'll show you more. So
yes, we will. That's politics. Go ahead.
Okay, well, interestingly, this is from a New York Times story by Mike Isaacs and Shira Frankel, and apparently Facebook is bracing for Trump to deny the 2020 election results. So apparently Facebook executives are meeting every day with Zuckerberg to work out the steps they're going to take if the president refuses to accept the election results. So the New York Times said that they are including a kill switch for political ads to turn off political advertising that Facebook doesn't police for accuracy after Election Day, as an attempt to squash disinformation around the results. So YouTube and Twitter are also discussing plans for action if the post-election period gets complicated, which I suspect it will. According to they have brought in disinformation researchers and they've spent the last couple of years, all the platforms, trying to avoid a repeat of the 2016 election when Russian operatives used Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to inflame the American electorate and with all their divisive messages. But interestingly, I was in a conversation the other day with a Washington Post reporter who was saying that it's not Russia you have to worry about, it's China, because China is far more sophisticated than Russia and far more insidious in the ways in which they target our social media. So, but anyway, firms, they've clamped down on foreign meddling, but they have this whole surge of domestic interference, like from the right-wing group QAnon, and of course from Trump himself. And so Alex Stamos, who's the director of Stanford University's Internet Observatory, and he's a former executive at Facebook, and he said Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube have faced a singular situation, like we were just talking about, to have to potentially treat the president as a bad actor who could undermine the democratic process. So Facebook examined what it would do, for instance, if hackers backed by a nation state leaked documents online, or if a nation state unleashed a widespread disinformation campaign at the last minute to dissuade Americans from going to the polls. So Facebook invited those in government think tanks and academia to do sort of simulated hypothetical election issue situations. And at issue is the fact that, according to current and past employees, the whole final decision rests with Zuckerberg. He's like King Zuckerberg at Facebook. So, it's good that everybody's trying, and who knows if it's going to be possible to avoid all of this horrible stuff.
Well, waiting till after the election is too little too late. And I don't.
But what are they supposed to do?
I don't want to.
I know. But it's a real situation, and they got to talk about it. So, does that bring us to weekly numbers, Dave?
No, we got to talk more politics, but more positive politics this time. The Democratic National Convention, 4 days, Tuesday to Thursday, in a pandemic where they couldn't meet in an actual physical hall and had to, on the fly, design an event that was virtual, almost entirely virtual. I thought it was insanely well done. I
did too. And it got better every night.
It did.
The first night there were some lulls, and you could see like they were racing to get the technical stuff right. But by the last night, they were great. But what I loved the most, absolutely loved, was the national roll call.
Absolutely.
That was so brilliant. I hope they always do it like that from now on, where we got to look at people in every state. And the one that stuck in my mind was the guy with the plate of calamari.
Yeah. The what was it? Rhode Island comeback calamari, something like that.
Yeah.
No, that was absolutely brilliant the way that they pulled that together, and that in particular was like you got to see, and it was like the whole theme of the campaign too is we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And so they go through every state, and rather than having we all know how it works in the convention hall, right? And nobody pays attention to it.
Right. Yeah,
and now
that's when you go get your ice cream or something.
Right. But having all the different landscapes, all the different people from every different state,
native costumes.
Yep. And
the accents. Yeah. It was it was wonderful. I mean, it made me so happy. I felt better already. And then Obama, like the new Obama, who literally, skewered Trump, and I mean that was. I thought all of his speeches were great, but this was astounding.
Well, the production, I agree. I don't want to set that aside, but the production of the whole thing, it condensed everything, so it's viewable.
Yeah.
People are viewable. It's not really long, and it's entertaining throughout. It was paced well. It was the presenters were great. The music was great. Everything was great about it, and it was all tied in thematically, topically, and led. It told a story throughout all 4 nights.
It was really beautifully done. I do not know who the people are who did it, but I'm sure we'll hear about that as time goes on. And I think it's going to be awfully hard to top because it made people feel good, and nothing about the GOP makes people feel good anymore. So
I think what we're going to see next week is Trump complaining about shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're going to get. We know.
Doing it.
Yeah.
When Julia Louis-Dreyfus said tomorrow he's going to tweet that I'm a horse-faced has-been with low ratings, and that's probably what he did this morning, while he was toilet tweeting.
Takes one to know one.
Yeah, she was fabulous. I mean,
yeah,
the first night I thought, like, why do we have Eva Longoria? Is that her name? Why is she here? But she was excellent. And the second night I did not know that person, but my friend who watches more TV than me said that she's on a lot of TV. I didn't know.
Well, we had the first night we had Eva Longoria, and they took a sledgehammer and they hammered it over our heads. Diversity. It was like color everywhere.
Yeah.
Eva Longoria was part of that. It's like that's it's not this lily white ass Republican Party of old white men.
But I mean, after the first night, I'm thinking, like, if one more person says how nice he is, but then after that, they just showed how nice he was in 1,000 different ways. Yeah. I mean, it just, you walked away feeling like these are real human beings. These are people that, like, you want to sit down and talk to them. And apparently he does that. Yeah. So it made me happy. It really did. And so few things about politics do that anymore. But wow, it was amazing. I did think that they could have done without Bill Clinton.
I don't.
No, really?
Bill Clinton is among the best orators the Democratic Party has ever, and he can frame an issue better than anyone in the world.
That's true.
And
nobody.
His job was tech economy. It's like, the guy doesn't know what he's doing. I do.
Nobody can take a complex issue and make it simple better than him. Nobody. But there was but he looked awful.
But
not well.
I don't think he did. The other thing is, so a lot of the progressives are complaining about so many Republicans talking, so many moderates talking, and AOC only got like 3 seconds or whatever, and okay. Legitimate complaint, I guess. But on the other hand, we need to build a huge, massive coalition.
Right, and that's what it did.
From left to right, everybody, all the never Trumper Republicans, all the former Republicans, all the future former Republicans, as Buttigieg would say, to the most liberal of the liberal, in order to defeat this asshole. And it has to be a huge coalition to do that. So,
and they made one. They really made one. I mean, all of the factory workers and all of the nurses and all of the teachers and all, all those people. Like, these were people that and you can relate to. They weren't.
All right, so we've gone on way too long.
how democratic we are.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay, weekly numbers.
So this is from LinkedIn. George Anders is the writer on the post. LinkedIn has this labor stress index. So it is basically what kind of stress are different. And not surprisingly, their data finds that recreation travel has seen the steepest increase in labor stress. It advanced about 27% since January 1, while most industries are up just 10 to 18% in labor stress. They track 21 industries, and finance shows the slowest increase so far in 2020 at 8%. Other industries are between 18 and 17%, and they include hardware and networking, which we have to go to a physical place and install and stuff. Healthcare, obviously there's issues there. Education, again. Arts, are people going to see, galleries and stuff anymore? Transportation and logistics, airplanes are kind of dangerous a little bit. Legal, real estate, people aren't showing houses as much anymore. Retail, obviously. Nonprofits, people don't have any money. Wellness and fitness, consumer goods, and public administration. There's steeper rates of 18 to 24% for software and information technology, for entertainment, for manufacturing, corporate services, media and communications, which I always kind of like, are we media and communications or are we corporate services? Digital communications.
I think we're communications.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Design had a 31% increase, and then
In
at the very in stress, yeah. So I imagine, there's probably a lot of designers, so the competition is fierce, and people are getting laid off, so there's more competition. I don't know, that's my guess. There's that Nat again. Lastly, energy and mining, which got hit by COVID slowdown, as well as the concurrent drop in oil prices. And that posted a 45% leap in stress. So there you go. The numbers are what you'd imagine they'd be.
We are stressed, all right.
Yeah.
And that little gnat that's flying around your head is stressing you.
Yeah, they're annoying.
Okay, so thank you for watching and listening to episode 320 of the Beyond Social Media Show. You just find us by searching for Beyond Social Media Show, and you'll find everything we talked about tonight on BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/320. And please do let us know what you think and get in touch. So David Erickson is my extremely charming co-host, who I love to argue with. And and he is D. Erickson on Twitter. On Instagram, he's D.E. Erickson. He blogs at e-strategyblog.com, and his YouTube channel is eStrategy, YouTube eStrategy. I am B.L. Ochman, and on Twitter, I'm What's Next, and I blog at What's Next blog. I'm What's Next blog on YouTube, and I have a website at blochman.com. And on Instagram, I have Lucy the Rescue Puppy. It's got quite a following. And the Beyond Social Media Show, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. And on Twitter, we're at BS Media Show, because we like to laugh at ourselves. And you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're on Pandora. We're on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. So iHeartRadio. Anywhere you get your podcasts, please do download ours. Please leave us a review and give us a couple of stars, and we'll love you forever. And we'll be back soon.
Thanks for watching.
Okay.